Good evening, everybody. Getting 2 videos today. God, lucky you. Now, don't be getting too excited now. I won't be doing this shit all the time. Anyway, good evening. I hope everyone's doing well. Now, I want to be clear on this video before I go any further. As much as it does entertain me a little bit to say that Kier the Traitor Starmer would be sweating his tiny little bollocks off if we had political representation, because he'd be like, oh shit, there's 70 MPs in here who can all challenge my views. I don't want to always keep beating Kier the Traitor Starmer, but unfortunately for us, or rather for him, he keeps on doubling down. But I think he forgets all too well that double of nothing is still nothing. And I doubt you can make the zeros into an infinity, but I'm sure you'll bloody try. Anyway, you're still going to get 0 if you keep doubling 0. The only thing you do by doing that is prove to everyone that A, you're an idiot, and B, that you really don't give a shit about the people you're supposed to serve. I mean, that speech that he gave was enough to make me puke, quite frankly. How he's now going out of his way to blame the Tories for, what was it, snake oil politicism or something like that? And you know what? I'm going to shut this shit down right now. Kier the Traitor Starmer, you may not like the Tories. I don't even like the Tories. I think the vast majority of the British people do not like the Tories, except maybe the absolute hardcore elitist of those voters. The ones who have absolute disdain and contempt towards the British people. But let me be clear. I'm not going to lie about what the Tories have done. Likewise, I'm not going to lie, or I'll try not to, about you, Kier the Traitor Starmer, and what your government's done, or what Tommy Robinson's done, or what Nigel Farage has done, or whoever the fuck I want to talk about has done. And while I accept that the Tories and the Labour governments are both two cheeks of the same shit-covered arse, I can't get the words out now because I'm getting frustrated. The Tories have been a bad bunch of pricks, let's face it. David the Conman Cameron didn't want us to have a referendum. He wanted us to stay in the EU. Theresa May wanted to give us a brino, a Brexit in name only, and Boris Johnson wanted to lock the fucking country down. While him and his friends celebrate Christmas, well, we're told we can't see our families. But I will defend the Tory party on this much. They are not responsible for the riots. They are not responsible for people hijacking the protests by concerned patriots and parents to give them a justification to attack the police. To say that is malicious and nothing short of libelous slander. And while he didn't mention any names specifically, if anybody does feel that Kier the Traitor Starmer has personally damaged your reputation, I highly recommend you take Kier the Traitor Starmer to court over it. Because to say that someone else is responsible for these protests, knowing it's not true, is libelous, and they can be taken to court for it. I wonder what Kier the Traitor Starmer would have to say about dozens of Tory MPs going out of their way to take him to court. Or even people who aren't in the houses of treachery, I mean Parliament. Or maybe I was right first time. I'm sure there are a lot of people in there who would love to take this fucker to task over this. So if Kier the Traitor Starmer has got any brains in there, which I suspect he doesn't, then he would do his absolute damnedest to retract what he said about the riots. On that same subject as well, it is extremely libelous against the British public to maliciously label a whole group of people based off of a few bad apples as far-right. Were there far-right individuals up there? Oh yeah, probably. You could probably argue that. But I would also say the Islamic scumbags that Kier the Traitor Starmer wants to protect all too much, and their bell-end churches. Sorry, I mean mosques. Or again, maybe I was right first time. And sorry, Bootneck, I have stolen that one, fucking sue me. Anyway, I don't think he's going to dare say anything about the libelous slander he has said about concerned parents and patriots. Likewise, I don't think he is going to mention anything about declaring his allegiance, basically, to Islam or the Belatin churches. Now, I personally don't understand what's so hard about being the Prime Minister, other than the fact you've got to obviously watch what you say, which is where I'm quite lucky, because I don't have to. Because I know I am well within my rights to say what I'm saying. And I do accept he has to put in new laws and what have you, and make sure the country's going in the right direction. But the bit I say I don't understand what's so hard is your two main civic duties. Last time I checked, the first civic duty was to protect the realm, i.e. the country. And the second civic duty that the Prime Minister should be exercising is that he should be protecting all of the inhabitants of that country, not one sect of Islam, not one section of the populace. Those are his two duties, nothing else. So by doing what he's doing here and basically saying that he'll protect Islam, he's also engaging in sectarianism. And last time I checked, isn't that discriminatory against every other race and religion? Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe I'm banging my head against a brick wall and pleading insanity. So not only do we have a Prime Minister that is a dictator, well, again, I was right the first time. Not only do we have a Prime Minister that is a fascist because of trying to silence all political opposition, but we now have a Prime Minister who's a sectarianist motherfucker. So the fact that he's siding with Islam, shouldn't this guy be locked up for hate crimes? Or inciting hatred? Or inciting violence? Or at least something of that similar category? Because last time I checked, I thought it was racist to discriminate to discriminate against the white people. Oh, but of course, Yvette Cooper is more than willing to have people who do extreme misogyny drummed up on terrorism charges. Now let me be clear before I go any further with that shit. I am against misogyny. I'm against racism. I'm against discrimination of any kind. Do I think people should be punished if, for example, they beat their wife? Yes, of course I do. Likewise, if I think somebody is promoting hatred against women, I will defend the women to the death about this. But here's the thing. I think women are more than capable of defending themselves as far as their rights are concerned. I think they're more than capable of actually telling our establishment that we know what we want, we know what our rights are, and more importantly, they know what a woman is. Whereas Sadiq Khan and Kier The Traitor Starmer, they couldn't tell you what a woman was, even if their lives depended on it. You could put a gun to their head and say to them, what is the definition of a woman? And they would not be able to answer you. Now let me be clear, I'm not advocating for violence against them. Let's be clear on that shit before I go any further. I'm just putting it as a figure of speech. They could be threatened at gunpoint to tell us what a woman is, and they would not be able to do it. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. This is why Keir The Traitor Starmer is so vilified right now. And quite rightly as well. Like, I cannot think of a single redeeming factor about Keir The Traitor Starmer. I cannot think of one good thing about Keir The Traitor Starmer. At least you could say Tony Blair implemented some kind of good things into this establishment during his reign. Likewise for Rishi Sunak. He may have been a man with no passion, but at least he didn't go out of his way to destroy free speech. Whereas Keir The Traitor Starmer is going full regime, full dictatorship. He is going completely against the grain. He is going completely against the British people. And it seems like he will stop at nothing to destroy our great country. 2 millennia of hard work, and he's pissing it up the wall like it's nothing. He pisses this country up the wall just like Sadiq Khan pisses the taxpayers' money up the wall. I guess they make a great couple after all. Oh wait, no, sorry, he's already married to Yusuf. The two people who claim Islamophobia and want to bring in hate crimes. Or sorry, hate law crimes, or whatever. Sad. Really sad. But do you know what we did not hear about from Kier The Traitor Starmer? The 334 arrests, and probably counting at this point, that took place at the Notting Hill Carnival. With, I believe it was like 8 people getting stabbed. Yep. The gift that keeps on giving. The part and parcel of living in a big fucking city. And going to a big festival. And yet, people can't seem to see that this carnival is full of drugs, full of knives, and full of crime, and most likely full of hate. It does beg the question, why the hell does this carnival, this festival, whatever you want to call it, why the hell does it take place when all it's doing is effectively causing hundreds or thousands of police officers to have to attend, and all of it is being done at the taxpayers' expense? Why is that? Sorry about the noise, by the way. It's one of those shitty electrical things where the fucking tannoy system works out and all that. Or in this case, not so. Anyway, the point is, we are funding a crime spree, basically, when this Notting Hill Carnival takes place. They've admitted that it's mostly crime, and it's mostly coming out of the taxpayers' money. Now, I ask you this question. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with paying a 2-tier policing force your taxpayers' money, where they basically have to go out of their way to make hundreds of arrests of violent thugs at a carnival that is effectively nothing but stabbings and drugs? Are you okay with that? I know I'm not. If I had a choice, I'd take my fucking money out of that shit. But Kier The Traitor Starmer made not one mention of that crime spree that occurred over at Notting Hill. Not one. Instead, he wanted to deflect all that. He basically wanted to be like, oh no, don't look at all that. This country is blatantly plagued, totally and obviously, by far-right hooligans. No, Kier The Traitor Starmer. It's plagued by parasites like you. Parasites like you, Kier The Traitor Starmer, that want to leech off the taxpayers' money for nothing but power and personal gain, which should never be what is top priority for a Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, his first or her first and foremost priorities should be protecting their realm and all of its inhabitants, regardless of colour, creed or religion. Or sex, if you want to go that far. Now, I shouldn't get any issues on this bus about there's a time and a place for things, because 20 years ago, maybe you could say there's a time and a place for this shit. But the trouble is, we're living in a situation where the truth needs to get out, and that means it's going to have to be said in more private areas or more public areas. People need to understand what the problems are in this country, and Kier The Traitor Starmer is one of the biggest, if not the biggest problem this country has right now. It's that or illegal immigration. Take your pick. Pick your poison. I know what I'm picking. I would even say that Kier The Traitor Starmer is a bigger threat than the illegal immigration. Because after all, he's just, like, say what you will about the illegal immigrants. Say what you will about them. They're doing what they can to seek their fortunes, their glory, or in some cases just where to commit crimes because they see us as a soft touch. But Kier The Traitor Starmer is the one holding the portcullis up and letting the bastards in, quite frankly. And I will never, ever stop saying it how it is. I will not sugarcoat anything, and I will not mince my words. And unlike Kier The Traitor Starmer, I don't need to be like, what's it say next on this script? I don't need to be like, oh, what does it say here? Oh, what's the auto cue say? No, I don't need to do that. Fuck off, you. fucking tannoy system. Anyway, I don't have to look down at notes. I don't have to look at an cue even. I just say it from the heart, what I truly and fundamentally believe. That's why everything I say, you can, well, for the most part, you can tell is genuinely what I think, rather than, oh, look at me, I'm reading from a piece of paper, you don't know if I'm saying the truth, all you hear is this robotic voice, which is basically what Kier the Traitor Starmer's doing. He's just reading off a script, because he hasn't got fire in his belly, he hasn't got any emotion, he hasn't got any sympathy, he hasn't got any empathy, he hasn't got any respect. He wants to screw this country. He's doing everything he can to do so. He's doing everything he can to overturn the biggest Brexit vote in history, the biggest political vote in history, when he is elected on the lowest majority of people in all of UK politics, which is something, of course, the mainstream media are reluctant to tell you. The fact he's willing to allow free movement of people in this country is just the first step of him trying to get us to rejoin the EU. Why do you think the army spending is so low? It's because he wants to rejoin us to the EU. One army, one anthem, one dictatorship. That's his ultimate goal, and to, of course, follow his WEF masters, who are telling him what to do. Hell, he's already had another Islamic leader, basically. I don't know if it's a terrorist leader, I don't think so, but it's definitely another person from that religion of peace. He's gone to have talks with him and welcome him into the 10 Downing Street. Last time I checked, Islam is responsible for a substantial amount of terrorism that has gone on recently. They are responsible for 84% of all grooming gang crimes when it was last checked out by the Quillian think tank. Don't just take my word for it. 84% of all grooming gangs committed by Pakistani Muslim men, who are only, 7% of the British population? Could you imagine what would happen? It's already happening, to be fair, if that population number gets higher. 10%. What about 14%? What about 20%? We would effectively see 3 times the numbers, and that would mean an even bigger proportion of grooming gang crimes committed by predominantly Pakistani Muslim men. Oh, but Kier the Traitor Starmer doesn't want us to know this. He wants all of this to be deflect it away from the far left and the real threat in this country, the illegal immigration and, of course, Islam. He wants to deflect from them and blame concerned parents and patriots and label them all falsely alongside the genuine far right. They want to label the concerned parents and patriots as far right when they just want to make sure their kids have a future. I have never seen a Prime Minister as heavily despised and held in such contempt as Kier the Traitor Starmer. But you know what puts the icing on this shit cake? Alistair Campbell. You know, Tony Blair's second-hand man, dodgy dossier wanker, who is going out of his way, the absolute audacity on this piece of shit, to say the reason that politicians haven't been doing so well, the quality has dropped on them, is because of our treatment of them. Oh, boo-hoo, Alistair Campbell. Boo-fucking-hoo. Maybe they should do their jobs better then, and maybe we wouldn't have such contempt for them. Last time I checked, you're supposed to serve the British people, not the other way round. Do I think there are politicians who are wrongly lambasted? Oh yeah, 100%. There are people who are wrongly lambasted. Nigel Farage being one of them, though he does get lambasted over things that he does rightly deserve to be condemned on. But a lot of the shit that gets thrown his way is libelous and slanderous. A lot of the shit that goes to him, such as blaming him for the riots, is one of the most contemptuous things that Kier the Traitor Starmer has done. Here's a very simple solution for you, Alistair Campbell. This goes to you directly as well, Kier the Traitor Starmer. Start reading the room and respect what the British people want. It's one of the golden rules about mainstream media as well. Give the people what they want, not what you want them to hear. Because at the end of the day, how do you think you got into power, Kier the Traitor Starmer? You didn't win because you won. You got in power because the Tory party was completely unelectable. And let's face it, a lot of these people are NPCs who don't know what's good for them, quite frankly. That's the only reason you're in power. It's because we have so many NPCs that are fast asleep, much akin to the Matrix. They've got that blue pill ingrained in their system. What do you think will happen when we give them the red pill and wake them all up? You'll be fucked, Kier the Traitor Starmer. No equivocations about that one. What do you think will happen when the British people start to realise you have been labelling concerned parents and ordinary citizens as far right? What do you think will happen when they realise that you're going to cut our benefits, when you're going to cut public spending while increasing taxes? What do you think's going to happen when they find that out? What do you think's going to happen when they find out that they're going to take away your right to protest, to silence all political opposition, to prevent people from being able to have a platform to challenge Kier the Traitor Starmer? You're going to be in a lot of trouble, Kier. You will have a whole world of problems on your hands because you've decided to go against the British people and not serve the British people. I accept as well, though, as I said in what is going to be my previous video, that this petition that is being worked around on the internet to get him out of office, I don't think it's going to do anything. Cold bit of truth. I think it's going to do nothing. I think once a dictator, always a dictator. And he's always going to do everything he can to double down, triple down, quadruple down, and keep himself in office. That traitor wants this, and power, nothing more. He will keep doing this because he knows he can get away with it. We need to organise something, a response to this man. And we need to find a way to, metaphorically speaking, take out the trash. Now I hear there's a protest that could be potentially happening in Portsmouth on the 7th of September, I believe, but I'm not sure on that. The way I look at things is we need to organise something. We need to get loads of people together, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, to voice our contempt towards this establishment. Because until we do, he's going to keep doing this. And I am worried, as I said before, that maybe the only way things are going to change is a violent revolution. And let me be clear, I am not advocating for it. I will condemn it at every turn. But it seems to me that he who breaks the law the most seems to get the most of what they want. Take a look at Islam. It's a sad state of affairs when child rapists are not being put in jail. But anybody who is seen to protest against the government, anybody who sends a wrong Facebook post or Twitter post, or perish the thought they try to grit their teeth at the police or growl at a dog, oh, then they'll send the boys around you. You'll be lucky if they don't break your legs. The cold bitter truth on the matter is the police are more interested in persecuting the innocent and protecting the guilty. That's the truth. We can see it. We don't need Kier the Traitor Starmer to tell us there's two-tier media and policing in this country. We can see it. How Islam, how Black Lives Matter, they can go out of their way and attack the police, and yet they won't get charged for it, like I said. Or they'll attack armed police at Manchester Airport and then be lucky not to get shot themselves and then released off without charges. It makes no sense to me. But then there's us, who, if we even get overexcited, they'll come at us with batons, they'll come at us with dogs, they'll come at us with horseback police, which is something the mainstream media don't want to tell us about. But that's what it boils down to. We have a corrupt two-tier policing system, a two-tier justice system, a two-tier media that would rather report lies than the truth. They would rather screw the indigenous Brit and side with the enemy than protect and serve the very people their civic duty demands of them, whether it's the police or whether it's our Prime Minister. But what we need is we need to basically get like Islam, not violent. Ideally, we should do this peacefully. We need to get a movement going. We need to get a resistance going. And we need to oppose the traitors in the houses of treachery. We need tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out on the streets protesting against this traitor. This, I'd go as far as saying this subhuman that is our Prime Minister. Because that is what he is. You have to be a lowly piece of shit to want to protect your enemies, but kill your allies. That's the way I look at it. And as I said, I'm not going to mince my words. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Because that's what Kier the Traitor Starmer is doing. He's killing us to protect Islam. He's got political prisoners who are against him. He's locked them up. Oh, he said, oh, the jails are full when there's a child rapist that's being allowed to walk free and getting away with no jail time. But then you have the people like Brenda or Tom or whoever who are sending tweets or Facebook posts that are now looking at years in prison. We have people who, and yes, there are some people who quite rightly need to be in prison for violent conduct and inciting terrorism. Let me be clear on that. But here's the thing. If they can do it with this kind of free speech, if they can do that to them, they can do it to you. They can do it to me. They can do it to anyone. And they probably will. Kier the Traitor Starmer has doubled down on everything, and he has shown the greatest level of contempt you can show the British people. And quite frankly, that should scare anybody with even half a brain cell in here, quite frankly. Because it means the man will do everything he can to plunge that knife, whether it's in the back or in the front, and twist, and make sure the British people bleed for him to serve his enemies. That's the way I look at Kier the Traitor Starmer. He is the most despised Prime Minister we will ever have in our history. The man who sided with his enemies. The man who stabbed the British people in the back. All for his WEF masters. What it boils down to is this man who put down that wreath over at the monument. I do hope the people turned their backs on him when he placed it. I do hope he did, after the 2-minute silence, because Kier the Traitor Starmer is not fit for respect. Respect is earned, not given. You cannot demand the respect of the British people if you yourself will not respect the British people. Alistair Campbell, Yvette Cooper, Tony the War Criminal Blair, Kier the Traitor Starmer. You cannot expect the British people's respect when you yourselves are stabbing the British people you're supposed to serve in the back. That is why I will always stand against you, Kier the Traitor Starmer. I am not afraid to go to prison. I am not afraid to lose out on my liberties. I am not afraid to challenge you, Kier the Traitor Starmer, because at the end of the day, I will fight for what I believe is right. I will never advocate for violence. I will never advocate for a violent revolution. But I will completely understand if people go down that route. Because you're not listening to us, traitor. Kier the Traitor Starmer. You're not listening to us. And you've got a powder keg on your hands with a lit fuse. And you better fucking turn it off quick. Or you may find that violent revolution is much closer than you think. Do you honestly think people are going to wait 3 to 6 months for you to change? Do you think they're going to wait 5 years for you to actually do what the British people want? No, they're not. They've seen what you're doing in the last 7 or 8 weeks. And they can see quite clearly you have nothing but contempt for us. So don't be surprised, Kier the Traitor Starmer. If you put your hand in the lion's cage, do not be surprised if you lose that hand.